Hey, awesome people, we're back, and this time we're going to talk about 3Xing an evangelism team. Cool, so let's just get into it. Starting in March, I started keeping track of all of my contributions. I think one of the nice things about any sort of DEVREL or evangelism position is that the content that you make is yours. You do have your name on it, and I think that's one of the things that you should be proud of because it gives you this experience that you wouldn't normally get in other roles, and it's about ownership and being proud of your work. And so that's something that I started doing in April or in March, and then continued basically until what it is today. And as you can see, there's a steady up and to the right increase, and basically in June we had about 4x growth in the number that we saw in March. And so I just wanted to share some of the things that I did to achieve that, and maybe it can help you as well.
So I actually want to start off this video by talking about March. March was pretty interesting. I had joined my company in January, and so I had a couple of tasks. The main one was blogging every week, and so along with that was also ramping up on the responsibilities of my job. So ensuring that I was going to be a part of certain events, certain conferences. And so a lot of my time before March or leading up to March was just submitting to call for papers and even applying different just trying to get like all of my content and ideas out there. And so in March, a lot of travel was being shut down, and people were asking questions around, how they would be able to complete their job without the travel component. I think I had about 4 events that was supposed to be scheduled for throughout the year. Of those 4 events, 2 of them were canceled, and like I said, the other 2 were converted to virtual. So in March, I had 1 speaking session, and that was pretty fine. It was converted to virtual, and I think something else that also contributed to the numbers in March was my blog posts and third-party articles that were picked up by other publications. So this was content that I had already written in January and February that were now getting picked up in March and April, and that contributed to the numbers as well. There wasn't too much difference between March and April, but in April we did start investing more time into Deliver Better, our community for teaching people how to deliver better software. Pretty much anyone, any tech leader, anyone who's new to technology, anyone who's been in technology but they just want to build additional skills. So we built out a couple of channels that ended up helping us out down the road in May and June. So one of the things was around content contributions. So we opened it up to the community to submit any type of contribution that they would want. And obviously it was gated and edited by the community managers at Deliver Better. But it was just giving people more opportunities to also contribute, because there was issues with people kind of finding new media formats to be a part of. And so a good thing that we decided to do was introduce podcasts. So we were doing podcasts and contributions to Deliver Better every week, and we did that through May and June. And so that was really great, because even when we didn't have experience with a podcast episodes or the podcast format, really, we did try to keep it fun and just kind of contribute and spread knowledge there. So I think it's really great to be able to kind of give back to the different communities. Also, hitting on what happened in May when we saw sort of like that 2x growth, 2.5x growth from April to May was sort of how we interacted with the community. So I became part of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, CDF ambassador. And then I also was a part of different DevOps Institute events. And so I ended up becoming an ambassador at the DevOps Institute as well. And so it was just great to be able to meet other people in the community, give back, whether it was through content or even just getting to know people in the community. So I think it's really great if you are looking for kind of people who are passionate about certain areas of computing. Another portion that helped us was continuing to blog every week. So we contributed different pieces to the Harness blog. And it was great because we were able to basically read off of a content calendar and execute on it. We were also looking at webinars and how to kind of host our own events as well. So something that we did was we went through an exercise to come up with kind of trendy industry topics that could be relevant to our company. And we came up with everybody brainstormed 15 topics, and then we narrowed it down to 6 each, and then we recorded. So that was great because we had the opportunity to build out content, webinar summaries, getting a lot of these kind of things that we had in our heads written down and into a slide deck. So if people aren't familiar with what webinars look like, it's essentially this virtual event that you can join, and you join there and you listen to the content, someone delivering content, and then at the end you can ask questions and interact with people. So it was the process of coming up with brainstorming the ideas, narrowing down the options, executing on it, so doing research and building out the slide decks and content, and then building out all of the information related, all of the information that people would want to know about the webinar before registering. So doing the webinar summaries. And that was great because it gave me it gave me a little bit of freedom to kind of figure out what pieces of content was most exciting for me. You're not trapped in the requirements of a typical event or a conference. It's sort of, anything goes. And so it was a great way for me to explore different topics and even grow some of like my knowledge in certain areas as well. And so I highly recommend it. Something that we did that I really enjoyed was we made sure that there was a little bit more polish to our work. So in April, we had our webinar series look like this, and then we took it and kind of polished it up a little bit more, and this is what we have now. And so a little bit goes a long way. Sometimes it's just a matter of reaching out to people and saying like, hey, I'd love to get your feedback on how this looks. And that can convey your message in a better way. That's something that carried us and is continuing to carry us now. Another thing that added to the growth from May to June was the creation of a champion program. Developer recognition is very important because it highlights your users and the expertise of people who use your product in very innovative ways. And so building a champion program was something that we wanted to do, and I took ownership of. And so in May and June, we started working on that and interviewing people and building content. And that's all. And that's basically it. There are a lot of different formats that we could kind of pursue. I recommend, if you're going to track contributions, to think about your the top row, sort of the headings, and ensure that you're breaking them apart so that you can build out graphs. So something that makes it difficult to build graphs is if you have multiple dimensions within your rows. So something that I recommend is treating your X and Y axes for the graphs that you'll be building. So if you want to track different types of content, I recommend building different sheets that have each of those contents. So one sheet can be solely dedicated to the contributions of blog posts or the contributions of conferences. I would have different sheets so that if you do want to build graphs and gain a little bit more analysis, that you can do that freely without having to kind of massage the data or include additional functions, which is something that I had to do. So yeah, there you have it. That's sort of how we grew our evangelism and our number of contributions. Again, like this was actually the pattern for not just me, but other people in the organization. So instead of doing like 4x growth myself, like we were doing that across the team, across other members as well. So I think definitely playing to and even having flexibility to play to different components and different assets and different channels really helps your organization. So think about not only physical events, but also other forms of content that can help you. And a lot of the asynchronous events and sort of digital events give us that opportunity. So kind of thinking about, well, how can I grow? How can I grow my reach and my contributions? And even sometimes doing something as simple as tweeting about your events or tweeting about your work can help. So so that's it for me. I hope this was helpful for anyone who's interested in kind of growing their organization. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm more than happy to answer any questions in the comments. Let me know if you have any suggestions, any trends or things that you've seen in your organization. Would love to hear about it. But until then, peace.